What's going on? My boy Cloud Gary had a good question in the group chat. He was talking about scratches on vehicles. That is an excellent question. I don't know why I haven't covered that yet. This is a vehicle that I've got actually on the car hauler, and I'll just do a video on that on scratches. There's tons of different types of them. Let me show you something. Okay, so you can't even see it in the camera. Let's get a good one. This is actually in really good shape for an old truck. There's tons of scratches. So one rule of thumb is, can you see this? Do you see that scratch right there? Okay, so a good rule of thumb is you can buff out a scratch if you can run your fingernail and you don't feel the scratch. That means it is in the clear coat. It is not deep enough. It has not made it to the paint. And that is a good trick. You can buff it out, or you can use something like this, carnauba wax. This works really, really, really well. It's more of a paste and not a liquid, and you can apply it, and you'll be surprised how much of these scratches you can get out. Not necessarily deep ones, like for example this. You can obviously, you can hear that. So that since I can feel that and hear that, I cannot get that out with a buffer alone. This will not take it out. I know you can use back to black. That also works. Or Scratch X, not back to black. Back to black's for bumpers. Scratch X, you can also use that. It works well. It does do a lot of swirls on dark trucks. I use it on my black truck. It creates a ton of swirls. It's very tough to do. You can also use a paint pen. So what I would recommend doing, if you use a paint pen, get color matched paint pens. Don't get a blue one to match this, or what is this, green? Because this truck has faded. There's so many different types of greens on trucks. Like this has metallic flake in it, and you can barely tell. And you wouldn't really notice that, right? So get the VIN number or whatever, and you can go into an AutoZone, and they'll have these little paint pens, and that would be for deeper scratches, like the ones on the door, which those are too short, but maybe like a longer one, maybe not even that one. You'd probably need a worse one than that, but you can use a paint pen. That is another one, but this is a really good question, and I should have done a video on it sooner. But yeah, so if you can use your fingernail, once again, if you can use your fingernail and hear it, you can't buff it out. There's no way you can buff it out. It is past the clear coat into the paint. I learned all this from auto body. I took 2 years of auto body in high school, and I actually accidentally got my certificate in auto body. So I'm certified to paint vehicles, and boy, I'm not certified to paint vehicles. I don't know how that happened. I was like, oh, all right, sweet, man. But I do know a decent amount. I would say I'm right below an amateur. But yes, so this one you could probably buff out. Okay, where is it? That one you could probably buff out. Little scratches like that, you wouldn't need a paint pen on that. What a paint pen does, it does look bad if you put too much paint, because whenever you get a reflection, the paint this is all smooth and painted with a paint gun at a certain PSI, like 30 PSI. I don't remember exactly what it was, but really smooth. It's laid even. When you get a paint pen, it's raised because you're filling in a crack, and it's actually like a little raise in the paint, so the reflection makes it look even worse. So my advice, if you do use a paint pen, use it on low spots, on corners, things like that, because you don't notice it as bad, and the reflection isn't near as bad as it is on a flat surface if you did a paint pen right in the middle. That is actually a big tip. Now that I'm saying it, it makes sense. So yeah, that's your typical scratches. If you can feel it with your fingernail, it's it's past the clear coat or too deep in the clear coat, that you cannot just use this and get it out, or Scratch X and get it out. It might be able to hide it a little better, but yeah, it's either that really. If you can't feel it, then you can probably buff it out. You can have someone buff it out. You want to use an actual buffer, not an orbital buffer. Orbital buffers are for wax. They won't actually buff out the paint at all. All an actual buffer does is it spins in a circle and doesn't rotate. An orbital buffer like does this. and it doesn't get the surface hot. What actual buffer does is it burns like through the top layer of the paint and like smooths it out. And so, and that's how people get, you know, orange peel out of clear coat and make it really, like really smooth. But yeah, good rule of thumb. So like I said, for the 15th time, I keep repeating myself. Fingernail, if you can't feel it with your fingernail, then it is fixable with probably with just, you know, this wax, any other wax. But I like this. It's more of like a paste, and then or carnauba wax, Brazilian carnauba wax by Mothers. It's the best wax I've used, especially on black trucks. Or a paint pen, but I would advise not putting it on long flat surfaces where the reflection of the vehicle is always exposed. Put it on, you know, the bumpers, the corners, down low. But paint pens are very good, but just don't get a green paint pen or a blue paint pen because the truck's blue and, you know, you think it'll match, because Chevy blue and Subaru blue are totally different. Chevy has some that are metallics, Chevy has some that aren't. Chevy has a light blue, Chevy has a dark blue, Subaru does as well. So make sure the paint pen matches. That's a huge deal. I messed up bunches of times doing it. Hope this video helps as well. Cloud, shout out to you, man. You freaking always reply. I love it. Keep it up, man. Seriously. Thank you, guys.